A poem by David White. Everything is waiting for you. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely, even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. Cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you.
Official. So we're continuing talking about feelings and how they relate to emotions. So one of the things we just practiced as a group, of course, was mindfulness meditation, where we sat quietly, closed our eyes, developed enough concentration by following our breath in order to see what's going on inside. And basically, that's all we're doing, is looking within. And this process enables it. And as you probably will guess, the more we practice the process, the more we find out about ourselves. And that's important, because we've spent lots of time looking outside of ourselves, but not much time in looking within. And haven't you always heard that God is within? Maybe not. So we're working with the 4 foundations of mindfulness. As we sit, the teachings point us exactly where to look. So we don't have to guess. That's what's so nice about it. So there's 4 foundations of mindfulness that we're going through very slowly that's important. because it points us exactly where to look. Once the mind settles, the body settles, and we begin to experience the life within, then what? Well, the first is mindfulness of the body. And Randy reminded us of that at the beginning, is how important it is to understand or to know or to practice whole body awareness. It's not just about the head or the mind. Sometimes we've isolated ourselves from the awareness of the whole body. And what happens when we touch that, when we experience it quite directly, it's a perception unlike if we just concentrated with the mind. So mindfulness of the body, that's one that we've talked about and will continue talking about. The body holds all the wisdom. That's quite a statement. The body holds all the wisdom to complete freedom and complete happiness that the Buddha promised. The second one, which we're going to talk a little bit more about tonight, is mindfulness of feelings. That's another thing that we want to get to know about ourselves very intimately, honestly, closely. What are feelings? And we begin to see, and we know this is something that the Buddha taught in his Buddha psychology, was we are hardwired or conditioned through our ancestors that when we use our five senses along with thinking to perceive our lives, what's going on in our lives, we have this feeling of like, dislike, or neither like or dislike. So that's there, it's built in. So we want to know that because that can be helpful. Because it's at that point, and it's natural, it's nature. So, we don't want to say, well, that we need to do something about that. No, we just need to know it. And it happens quite quickly. So you may or may not notice it, but it's there. And so with those feelings, then we begin to see what we add to the feelings that creates the suffering. And then the third one is mindfulness of the mind. And oh boy, I love that one. The nature of the mind. What is it about the mind that causes us so much stress? It's because we don't know it. We're not intimate with it. And so we begin to study it quite intimately within us, the nature of the mind. And then it is our servant, but not our master. And then the last one is it's called the mindfulness of the Dhammas, but what it means is there's a whole category of experiences that the Buddha says to look for. So there it is, 4 foundations of mindfulness. So we're studying. We're just studying ourselves, and we're just studying the natural phenomena that are happening quite naturally within us. And that becomes so insightful. And what quite naturally happens is wisdom arises just from paying attention, just from noticing. Sounds unbelievable. So, in the feelings and emotions, there's nothing wrong with emotions. But it's like all the other phenomena that we deal with and have in the body. It's how we relate to our feelings and how we relate to our emotions. I've said many times, nothing changes. It's not like we're going to have a halo and wings and all of a sudden be this sugar and spice and everything nice. I wish. Nothing changes, but what changes is our relationship to life, all aspects of life. And so tonight, before I talk more about that, I want to go into the skillful means of rain. Have you noticed it's been raining all around here?
The acronym.
It's an acronym. RAIN. R-A-I-N. And it's a very important tool to apply when we're investigating. And so the R stands for recognizing. Let's add relaxing to that too, because relaxing of the body is very important. So we're recognizing what's going on, what's happening. And we're allowing. That's the A in RAIN. We allow. With a non-judgmental relationship. We're all human. We all share the same things. We all share the same feelings. We all share. Once you know the nature of your mind, you know all minds. Once you understand the true nature of feelings, you know. We pretend, but it's just not so. It's what connects us. So allowing. And then we want to investigate. Physically, we want to investigate. Emotionally, we want to investigate. We want to see our stories quite closely, what we're telling ourselves. And we want to see our tendencies of how to respond or react, or what do we do with what life gives us. And then what happens in the process of investigating is we begin to loosen the concept that comes from the mind that we are not our minds, we are not our feelings, we are not our emotions. And we begin to question, who are we? Who the hell are we? And it comes quite naturally in this process because you begin to see that you're not your mind, that these are all phenomena that we all hold in the human body. And that they have all the same characteristics of They arise and they fall away. So how could they be us? Because they will die when the body dies. They will go. So what is it? And that's our question. So rain, and what I've done is, this is something that you can use at any time. And it's a very important tool to this day with your practice, regardless of whether you're out in your daily life or whether you're sitting in a formal meditation. Rain. So there's enough for everyone or a couple, but this is this wonderful stuff that you take the back off. It's polyester, and you can stick it anywhere and re-stick it.
Ooh, magic.
Magic. So, you get tired of looking at it in the mirror in your bathroom to remind you, take it off and go to the refrigerator. But anyway, they're back in the back, and at the end, you're welcome to take them. So, Randy, tell us a little bit more about rain.
Well, I would say that it's very useful practice. This meditation practice is an art. You can approach it as an art. But it also is an attitude. So when we are looking at skillful means, we call it, like the acronym RAIN, it always, what always precedes that is the attitude of kindness. In our meditation practice, when we observe with kindness. The Dalai Lama said, "My religion is kindness." That's a huge thing to say. So we can sort of hold that kindness out there as a kind of a prerequisite for our meditation practice. And when we're practicing rain, which is so helpful, the recognizing what's happening inside our bodies when it's happening, just that knowing is enough to allow us to be able to respond. Like, if I'm in the kitchen and I burn the toast, I can get mad and slam my hand down, and or I can just get another piece of bread and put it in the toaster. There's a little pause that's involved with this recognition. And we can take time with each one of these 4 letters in the acronym. There's no rush to get to the end. So the recognition requires kindness and also deep relaxation. Just coming into our bodies, feeling what's there, recognizing. We can feel our emotions, we can feel tightness if we're angry, we can feel heat, we can feel tenderness, we can feel contraction. And when we're able to notice these emotions in that way, there's a chance then for us not to simply react automatically through our habitual responses. Once we recognize them, we have a chance to actually respond rather than react. Going down the road, somebody cuts us off. Ever happened to you? Yeah. So if we don't really recognize this feeling that we're having, if we're angry inside, then we might race up to the person and try to cut them off or get ahead of them, or even something worse maybe. But if we recognize the feeling that we're having inside, then there's a chance that we can respond in an appropriate way, just maybe not trying to run the guy off the road. Just settling back and just noticing how we're feeling, the tension, the contraction in our bodies, and so forth. So the recognition, you can just stay with the recognition for quite some time. And that leads into allowing whatever it is to be there. And when we experience the emotion as a sensation, that's the alchemy. The emotion then becomes not a concept or an idea or a war of thoughts. The emotion actually becomes a sensation in our bodies. And you can feel it. You can feel anger. You can feel sadness. You can feel happiness. You can feel anxiety, but it's a sensation. Just like if I were to pinch my thumb, I can feel that sensation. So the alchemy is the emotion then is seen and experienced as a sensation, just like any other sensation. Then the whole conceptual thing that's going on about should I, shouldn't I, yes, no, this, that, it becomes it becomes a sensation. And then when we observe a sensation, what happens? Well, it moves, it changes, it doesn't stay the same. We see its temporary nature. It's not me, it's not mine. So we begin to, that's the investigative part, is seeing that sensation arise, stay there for some time maybe, and also pass away. And it loosens our identification with it, and that goes into the end, not taking it personally, not self. So the rain is, I think these days, for some of us, is an essential practice. It's something that it's easy to remember, and it's easy just to pause, just for a second, and allow that recognition, allowance as sensation, investigating, and then responding without taking things so personally. So I love rain. It was taught to me by one of my teachers, Tara Brock, who teaches it a lot, and Jack Cornfield, one of the teachers at Spirit Rock, taught it to Tara. And it's just a very, very skillful, we call it skillful means in the meditation practice. But as I said, meditation practice is an art full of skillful means. But it's also an attitude. In that attitude, if we precede anything that we do with the attitude of kindness, then it softens and allows these things to appear, allows the wisdom to arise. Does anybody feel any softness tonight when you were sitting? Enjoy the silence as you come into your body. As Anita said, it's just amazing. But it does take practice. Meditation practice is an art. It's a beautiful art. We start to notice the stillness when we stop arguing with everything. We stop interfering and just be completely still. Let things arise and pass away on their own. Stay in our bodies. As I've said before, one Tibetan teacher, Mingyur Rinpoche, some of you know him, he said something that stuck with me. Months ago, I heard it on one of his talks. He said, when he was a little boy, he said, this still stays with me. When I was a little boy, I was practicing meditation, and my dad said, Mingyur, remember, body on cushion, mind in body. He said, I've always remembered that. And that really stuck with me as well. The mind's not out here somewhere. Do you ever think your mind was somewhere out in front of you or behind you or out here? No, it's not. It's just an imagination. So when we soften, we can let the mind just almost like melt into the body. And the body and the mind, then it's mindfulness in the body. The body becomes alive. We start to live our lives more in the present moment, and then we start to experience rain itself, this acronym, if we want to engage in that practice. So.
Thanks, Randy. That was beautiful. So, we know what to do when we're working with emotions, because of the fact that emotions overwhelm us. They just we get lost in them. And so as we begin to understand feelings, that the like and the dislike comes up quite naturally, then what creates the emotion, or any emotion? It's our response to the feeling. So it's okay, I don't like that, I don't like that. Okay, well, okay, that's just part, I like this, that. But it doesn't have anything to do with acceptance, because it's all about accepting everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what we're after. We're not just after a piece of the pie. We're after the whole pie. And so in looking at things like the mind and emotions, and how feelings go into emotions, if we don't have this compassion, this understanding that it's okay to be a human being, and that we are perfectly imperfect. And with that understanding, it allows us to see it all, to see all of it. And so we begin to see that what we add to these feelings, there's nothing wrong with having a preference. I like this, don't like that, that's part of being. Now what do you do with it? And it's at that point when we put a lot of, whatever we add to it is is going to create our suffering.
That's the second arrow.
That's the second arrow, thank you.
We add something that...
So that's all you need to remember right now. And we'll talk more about it later. But just allow those emotions and then begin to see what are you adding to what you don't like.
And I'd like to add something about responding.
Okay. I'll let you.
And this is from Jack Cornfield. I picked this up today, and we were planning this talk. And Jack says that this is like a senior teacher in Spirit Rock Meditation Center, sort of one of the grandfathers of this practice in the West. He said, does it mean we can't respond strongly? No. Sometimes we need to get up, shout out the truth, march, protest, do whatever is necessary to protect our life and the lives of others. The great exemplars of nonviolence, such as Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., were strategic and skilled in this way. They rallied people, used the courts, broke the law, blocked the way, negotiated, moved forward and back, found allies, and used money, power, shame, speeches, and politics, all to stand up for what was right. But they did not act out of hate and violence. This is a powerful example. When self-righteous anger arises, we can let it go. Retaining our own fierce clarity, we too can seek justice, yet do so with a loving heart. That's responding. The Buddha urges us to let go of our anger even after extreme difficulties. Here are some famous verses from the Dhammapada. These are the words of the Buddha, sayings of the Buddha. He abused me and beat me and threw me down and robbed me. Repeat these thoughts and you live in hate. He abused me, he beat me, he threw me down, he robbed me. Abandon these thoughts and live in love. In this world, hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and eternal law. So, we sort of end the rather broad talk tonight, with including skillful means and feelings. And see if you have any questions about your own practice related to these things tonight. Yes, please.
Yeah. So, in rain, I really like that a lot. It's so beautiful. But I have trouble with the investigating part. Like for me, it's like what, like I know I'm supposed to investigate my feelings, but
Yes.
how am I supposed to go about that?
Yes. Okay.
I want to know if there was any I don't know, maybe small little questions I maybe could ask myself.
Yes.
Okay. So when this is the way this alchemy really works. So let's say that I'm not going to try to make you angry, but let's just say what's a common emotion that you might experience? Is it anger, jealousy. Okay. So jealousy has with it a feeling tone, and we can experience that. Like Anita said, we might like it or not like it. But then deeper than that, a physical sensation arises with regard to the jealousy. We can feel it. If you experience jealousy, you know right now where you feel it, mostly in your body, maybe in your chest, maybe in your belly, maybe in your back. That it holds a place as sensation. So then jealousy is not a word anymore. It's actually a physical sensation. Like a pain in the knee or a pain in the ass. It's a physical sensation. So we pay attention to it, investigate it just like we would any other physical sensation. That's amazing. That's an amazing alchemy. That turns any kind of conceptual ideas we have about that word or concept of jealousy into a physical sensation. Then the investigation, is it soft? Is it hard? Does it burn? Is it contracted? Does it get larger? Does it get smaller? Does it have color? Does it move? Does it change? That's the investigation. The investigation is of the sensation. Then the alchemy takes place, because any sensation always arises and passes away. It's impermanent. And once we start to see the impermanent nature of the sensation, which was jealousy, then it loosens the hold that our minds had on that concept, and it loosens our identification with it, and it really works. You've heard the old wizards, the alchemy, when they're doing their experiments. That's real alchemy. It's not magic, but it's how it works. Then we get it out of our heads into thinking we should, thinking we shouldn't, should be, shouldn't be, this, that, and you know how that goes, endlessly. But until we're willing to recognize it and fully allow it to be there, 100%, then the investigation, and it all takes time. It doesn't just, we don't try to rush through the RAIN. No, recognize. Stay with the recognition. Stay there. Stay there. See, it may hurt, but stay there. And then move on through. If it's so painful for maybe a traumatic event or something like that, then you may have to let it go and hang out with another part of your body, like your hands or your feet, and then sort of revisit it if it's too painful. But ordinarily, unless there's a trauma of some kind involved, it's not. And we can stay with it. And okay, that's what, now that's what, this is what jealousy is like. That's the experience of jealousy. Wow.
And that's the
Yeah.
formal, you know, that sounds very formal, but what you can do in your daily life is question, what's happening in my body right now?
Yeah. So what's happening inside me right now? That's
Yeah, what's
always a
happening?
beautiful question.
Sometimes Randy says, "What's? Let me see. What's your attitude? What's your attitude? Mind attitude?
What's
right
the attitude
now?"
of your mind? Attitude
Thank
of your
you.
mind right now.
Yeah. What's the attitude of your mind right now? And so that question puts me into my body, and what I do is I begin to, oh yeah. What is my attitude? What are some of the other questions?
Well, I like those two, really. One, just if you wanted just to play with that skillful means in your, sometimes at work or you're driving around or, you know, somebody leaves a message on your phone. Just that quick question, what's happening inside me right now?
Yeah.
What's happening inside me right now? It takes us right inside. And then the second part of that is there space for this too? Or there is space for this too. So not only are we allowing it to be there, we're noticing, knowing what's happening, that's the awareness, knowing what's happening inside me right now, and is there space for this too? So the actual spaciousness for letting it be there, those two things.
Yeah.
So very nice question that's applicable to everybody here. Not just jealousy, but many other.
All the other things we
Yeah.
have.
But that's the work. That's
the work,
that's
yeah.
how we practice. That's art. Yes.
So, your question brought up another question. Following forward with that, let's say jealousy. So let's say that's a repeated thing.
Yes.
And so you learn to recognize it and it's, oh, there it is in the body, and it changes and it does its thing and it kind of dissipates, and you practice doing that. So does it get to the root of what caused the jealousy in the first place, or does that not even matter? It does that because the root of it isn't happening now. Is that the idea?
Well, it could be that through
trauma or whatever.
yeah. So two things. So through psychotherapy, you might be able to get to the root cause of why that jealousy arose in the first place. And a good psychotherapist could help with that. But the meditation practice itself, these things, whether they're anxiety or jealousy, they will keep reoccurring until we allow them to be there completely and fully, until we completely allow them to be there in awareness. And it's the awareness itself. It's like the sun that burns it, shines light on it. Unless we allow it to fully be there, and that's what we keep practicing. That it will keep coming up, and many times we don't want to allow it to completely be there all the time. So we're maybe sort of attached to it. I like my worry. Don't take that away from me. My mama was a worrier. My grandma was a worrier. What do you mean? So it's like, can I really allow fear or worry or jealousy to completely be present? It's like the roomie in the guest house, You allow the guest to invite the guest in and bow to the guest, offer the guest tea. Can stay as long as he wants, but you have to let the guest fully arrive. Not halfway in the door. You're halfway in, halfway out, but that's the hard part.
And to say, well, hello, jealousy. I've seen you before.
That's the hard part.
Come on in. Yeah. Have some tea. I know you. So know the jealousy. Know the emotion. And let it be. Then that's the acceptance. That's the wholeness of living. The only way we can live in wholeness is if we accept all of life.
And like you said earlier, if it's a very troubling thing that may be because of some event or something, then psychotherapy can play a very useful part in this as well. It's good if the psychotherapist knows a little bit about meditation practice, and they can work together. So that's a nice thing. Yes, Mary.
Can you elaborate a bit more about the N, the last letter?
Yes.
Always that seems sort of trailed off a bit, and I think I kind of know what it is, but
Not identifying with it, not identifying with the phenomenon. So we're recognizing our emotions, we're recognizing the mind, we're recognizing and investigating what's going on inside, allowing it and investigating it. And what happens, what naturally, is because we see it in its true nature, we don't identify with it. So I don't say,
non-self.
Non-self. So, yeah, non-self kind of blows my mind. But when I can say it like this, it's like it makes more sense to me. Because you think, non-self, what does that mean? But what happens in looking at the phenomenon is you quite naturally, you don't identify with it. So I'm not an angry person. No. I have anger. Oh, here's anger.
We could even take it another step further if you even wanted to take the I dialogue out.
Yes.
And just say, just know that there's anger, awareness of anger. Here's anger, okay? Anger is arising. And so then the complementary sensation that comes along with it, then when we see it, when we experience it as a sensation, then it shows us three things. Always, without a doubt, it shows us its temporary nature, which is called anicca, and it also shows us that if we try to claim it as being my anger or my jealousy or then it shows us suffering, it shows us dukkha, okay, that's the pain. And the third thing that it reveals is anatta, because if it's something, and we'll see it as it reveals itself, that it's constantly changing, then how can it belong to me? It can't. I can't. How can I hold on to something that's constantly changing? I can't. So I'm forced to release it because I've seen its nature. It's burned to the ground. As the Buddha said, "Oh, house builder, your rafters are crashing, the house is falling, you can't rebuild." For him, it can never be rebuilt again, because the nature of anicca, dukkha, and anatta were so evident and so clear, they can never create a self-identification around anything anymore. So does that help a little bit?
Yeah. I just need a reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, isn't it sometimes the brain, we talk about the mind trying to feel it's floating around outside, separate
Yes.
from us. It's like a weather balloon.
Yeah.
Sometimes the brain is trying to take over.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it wants everything to be up here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sit in meditation, it seems that there's some channel between the brain and the rest of the body
Yes.
that gets opened up. It's almost like a dam, and the flood, with the gates open, and it allows itself for a bit to kind of connect.
And
it stops.
yeah, and
It all floods back up.
Yeah.
It pushes up here.
That's why mindfulness, of the body is so important.
And you think about the brain as a physical, like organ or something. Okay, so if the body's dead, where's the mind? See, so mind and brain are not the same thing. That's fun, interesting to play.
It's continually fooling itself.
Yeah, so
Continually.
so that's why
It's
the
masquerade.
and the body is the body, the mindfulness of the body. The body has discernment. It is intelligent, as Anita was saying. So what we can do is say, okay, I'm really going to try this. I'm going to, like Mingyur says, let the mind be in the body for 5 minutes. See what happens. Feel what comes alive when the mind and the body are not different. Then everything is alive. Every cell in your body is mind. You see? No, there's no differentiation. The whole body is alive with mind. It's not out there anymore. And we're not going to try to walk through a glass door or sit on a fire. It's not there's discernment there as well. We just don't trust it. So that's why you hear people say that we think our entire lives rather than live them. But as the Buddha said, if we are mindfulness in the body, then that's a whole different world. But it takes a little bit of trust, and sometimes you can take that trust in bits and pieces. Like set your timer. Okay, for 5 minutes, I'm going to let my mind be in my body, and I'll see what happens. Ding. Well, that was interesting. Okay, I'm going to try for 10 minutes. Oh, 20 minutes. And so, then you start to trust that the mind can stay in the body. Oh, sorry. Time to go. Okay, any more last minute questions, or you can come up here and ask away. Got carried away.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll end it with a short metta. There's a loving kindness practice. Nice way of just ending with some peacefulness and appreciation for what's here. And with the metta, M-E-T-T-A, you can sit back and relax a little bit. Don't have to sit straight. If you want, you can close your eyes and just feel your body once again. This amazing incarnation, part of this entire cosmos, sitting and experiencing its aliveness, awareness. My goodness. Made of all the elements of the universe, all the stardust and light. And an appreciation for this body. And wishing it well. May this body, may I be safe, and may I be happy and content. May I be well in body and mind. And may my heart rest with ease and well-being. And just feel what that feels like in this moment. May I feel safe. What does it feel like? May I feel happy and content. May I feel well. May my heart rest now with ease. And then offering the same wish for everybody here, sitting together tonight, exploring our minds and hearts. May you also feel safe, free from danger and harm. May you feel happy and free. May you feel well in body and mind. And may your heart rest with ease and well-being. And then, of course, the heart is boundless, so we can include now all beings everywhere. Our family, and our friends, and our pets, and people we don't know very well, people we like, people we don't like very much, all within our heart of hearts. May you also feel safe. May you feel happy and free. May you feel well in your body and mind. And may your heart rest with ease and peace and well-being. And thank you so much for sharing the space tonight. If you're new here and you want to be on Anita's beautiful Daily Dharma mailing list, there's a little tablet up there and you can put your email address on there, and she'll send out notes about things that are happening in these really nice daily dharmas as well. Also, these teachings have always been offered for free, but we do have to pay the rent here. And there's a little box with orange and green top, I think, something like that. Anyway, that's for Dana. So you can offer a donation if you like. It's not required, to help pay the rent and also to help pay for some of the expenses of the teachers. That means us. So, and also take one of these magic cards. They're really cool.
Yeah, I made about 30 of them.
You can stick it on your shirt and people will say, "What is that?" You can tell them. I know, I was open when I got here.
It was.
Yes.
Do you know that I know I have your email address? Did you write it down?
I sat down, I thought that before. Since I walked out there, I need to turn books.